All right, good morning, everyone. This meeting is called to order. Mr. Trobman, has anyone signed up for public comment? Thank you, Mr. Trobman. All right. On agenda item 3, we do have some cases to reconsider.
That is correct. We have one case under agenda item 3, case number 3570573. The case was voted on docket 41 on October 8th, 2024. The commission voted to resubmit the case pending a memo. A decision was mailed October 8th, 2024. The appeal deadline was October 22nd, 2024, and there is no evidence of an appeal. However, the decision is not in accordance with the commissioner's vote, and therefore we are asking for a letter of continuing jurisdiction in order to resubmit the case on a future docket. Commissioner Trevino?
I agree.
Commissioner Esparza?
I agree.
Chairman Daniel?
Agreed.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to agenda item 4, tax liability cases. Hugh, I'm renewing my request for you to have some sort of walk-up music when you make your way to the microphone. We have 2 cases on docket 44 and 2 cases on docket 45.
Yes, that's correct. For the record, Hugh Daniel, Special Program Appeals. There are 2 tax liability cases on docket 44 and 2 tax liability cases on docket 45. The first case number on docket 44 is TD-24-023-0524. Commissioner Esparza?
Agree with the recommendation.
Commissioner Trevino?
I agree with staff's recommendation.
And Chairman Daniel?
Agree with staff recommendation.
The second case number on docket 44 is TD-24-033-0524. Commissioner Esparza?
Agree with the recommendation.
Commissioner Trevino?
I agree with staff's recommendation.
And Chairman Daniel?
Agree with staff recommendation.
Thank you. That concludes tax liability cases on docket 44. Moving on to docket 45. The first case number is TD-24-036-0724. Commissioner Esparza?
Please accept these comments. With great reluctance, I agree with the staff recommendation that the employer's 2024 tax rate was properly computed and that TWC has no authority under the Texas Labor Code or the Federal Unemployment Tax Act to extend the 120-day deadline for voluntary contribution under Section 204-084E of the Act. Despite the fact that the original problem with the employer's first payment was attributable to the employer, it was not at fault in TWC's delay in notifying the employer of the tax rate recalculation. With timely notice of the rate recalculation, the employer could have had an opportunity to send in another payment on or before the 120-day deadline. It is fundamentally unfair that the agency can recalculate the UI tax rate at any point in the calendar year, but the employer is limited to the first 120 days of the year to attempt an adjustment of the rate. Although a voluntary contribution after 120 days cannot be granted, we should at the very least grant an extension of the due date for the additional taxes owed as a result of the recalculation. For my vote, I would like to issue a long form concurring opinion in this case.
Commissioner Trevino?
I agree with staff's recommendation.
And Chairman Daniel?
I disagree with the staff recommendation. The firm should be given an opportunity to complete their voluntary contribution payment that they did make on time, and we should recompute the firm's tax rate accordingly.
Are there any changes to any votes? Okay. We have 2
Short form dissent.
2 votes. Thank you, Chairman Daniel. The second case number on docket 45 is TD-24-040-0724. Commissioner Esparza?
Agree with the recommendation. The painter's laborers are not in employment.
Commissioner Trevino?
I agree with staff's recommendation.
And Chairman Daniel?
Agree with staff recommendation.
Thank you. That concludes tax liability cases on these dockets.
Thank you. We have no fair housing cases under agenda item 5. We have no child labor cases under agenda item 6. Under agenda item 7, we have 1 wage claim case on docket 44 pulled for additional discussion and no pulled cases on docket 45.
That is correct. There are no fair housing or child labor cases. There is 1 pulled case for wage claims on docket 44 and none on docket 45. The pulled case on docket 44 is case number 230539324. Commissioner Esparza.
The prior decision in this wage claim case may not be supportable. Claimant's initial employment claim dated March 5th, 2023 indicates that a related company named in the wage claim case was the last employing unit after the employer named in this case employed it. Moreover, the wage records associated with the UI claim indicate that the related company reported wages for the claimant during the filing quarter, which is largely the same period for which the claimant claimed wages for the employer named in this case. The claimant really did work for the related company as alleged by the employer in this case and was paid by that company. The validity of the wage claim is in question. Accordingly, we should hold a rehearing to obtain testimony and the other evidence from the claimant and the related company, and then resubmit the case on issues whether the wage claim named the correct last employer and whether the claimed wages have already been paid by a related company.
The employer's motion for rehearing should be dismissed as late. The MR deadline was 6/4 of 24, and the employer submitted their motion on 8/9 of 24. Though the employer alleged that they submitted earlier correspondence to the commission by email on 6/18 of 24, the email is not a valid method for filing an appeal, and this email correspondence was submitted after the MR deadline provided. The employer filed a late MR because their representative was out of the office. However, there is no good cause exception to the timeliness rules, and the employer's appeal should be dismissed as late, as it was filed late. Dismiss the employer's MR as late. Leave the commission decision in full force and effect.
Dismiss the motion for rehearing as late.
Short form dissent.
I have your short form dissent. You should have received the short form dissent list for dockets 44 and docket 45 for the wage claim cases.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining wage claim cases on dockets 44 and 45.
I second the motion, except for those cases which I am dissenting, as reflected on wage claim short form dissent list for docket 44 and 45.
I concur with the chairman's motion except for the cases on which I am dissenting as reflected in wage claim short form dissent lists for dockets 44 and 45.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted. We'll move to agenda item 8, consideration of unemployment insurance cases.
Case number 3049822, Commissioner Esparza.
The AT decision should be reversed. The employer witness stated that the claimant was terminated after an investigation revealed he made physical contact with a coworker without consent. The employer further stated that it was a policy that was broken by the claimant. Since the employer was the only party to appear at the hearing, it was only the party to provide sworn testimony. As such, the employer's testimony should be given greater weight. Furthermore, in a letter to TWC, the employer stated the claimant admitted to intentionally bumping the coworker, which was a serious violation of policy. Because the claimant's actions amounted to mismanaging the position of employment, we should reverse the AT decision, misconduct, reimbursing employer not billed, adequate employer response.
The AT decision is correct. The employer discharged the complainant for allegedly bumping his elbow with another coworker. The complainant denied his actions were inappropriate and were merely greeting the other employee. The employer failed to present any firsthand testimony or specific details of the alleged behavior. Therefore, the employer did not meet its burden of establishing that the claimant engaged in the alleged misconduct. Affirm the AT, no misconduct, bill reimbursing employer.
No misconduct, bill reimbursing employer.
Short form dissent.
I have your short form dissent.
Case number 3612537, Commissioner Esparza.
The commission should rehear this case. Prior to sworn testimony from the parties, the employer's representatives specified that they had key firsthand witnesses who was, a key firsthand witness who was unavailable for the hearing. Since testimony from the employer's additional witness is necessary to understand the nature of the job separation, the commission should rehear this case to obtain testimony and to admit any additional evidence concerning the job separation. Rehear.
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant was discharged for insubordination due to a disagreement that occurred with his supervisor. The complainant denied under oath any wrongdoing, and the employer only presented secondhand testimony to support its allegations about the claimant's conduct. Therefore, the employer did not meet its burden of showing that the claimant was discharged for misconduct connected with the work. reverse CAT, no misconduct, bill reimbursing employer. Employer is a party of interest.
Rehear.
We will rehear the case.
Case number 3630062, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant was confused about the requirements for participation in the AT hearing after receiving the hearing packet and called the commission for clarification. The claimant was instructed by a commission representative that he did not have to do anything but wait for the hearing official to call him on the day of the hearing. The claimant reasonably relied on this information and did not call in for the hearing until after the hearing start time. Since the claimant's failure to participate in the hearing was caused by his reasonable reliance on misinformation from a commission representative, the claimant established good cause for his failure to appear at AT1. Modify the AT, claimant established good cause for AT1, resubmit.
The AT decision should be affirmed. Ultimately, the claimant failed to appear for the AT hearing because he didn't read the registration instructions in the hearing packet. This does not constitute good cause for his non-appearance. As to the job separation, the available record supports a finding that the claimant failed to follow proper inspection procedures after a previous warning for the same issue. Therefore, the claimant's action constituted work-connected misconduct. Accordingly, we should affirm the AT decision. The claimant did not have good cause for his non-appearance, misconduct, no chargeback.
Claimant established good cause for AT1, resubmit.
We will resubmit the case.
Case number 3646772, Commissioner Esparza.
The commission should rehear this case. The claimant was terminated when he refused to change his gloves when serving a customer. Although the claimant denied his conduct, the employer during the AT hearing and in the appeal to the commission stated that they had an audio recording of a prior customer incident relevant to the final incident in this case. Since reviewing the employer's additional evidence is critical to making a ruling in this case, we should rehear to admit and review the employer's additional evidence. Rehear.
The decision is correct. The employer discharged the claimant after receiving a customer complaint regarding the claimant not changing his glove in the middle of making a sandwich at the customer's request. The claimant had changed his gloves prior to making the sandwich and was halfway through making the sandwich when the customer requested that he change his gloves. When the claimant asked the customer why, the customer simply replied, "Because I told you so." While the claimant understood that the claimant's request, his actions were not unsanitary and did not violate any employer policy, and he had no prior warnings. Therefore, the employer failed to establish that the claimant's actions are misconduct. Affirm the AT, no misconduct, void chargeback.
Rehear.
We will rehear the case.
Case number 3650966, Commissioner Trevino.
The decision is not supportable. The claimant worked in person, working a 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. schedule. He then accepted an available remote position, but wasn't told until after he requested the new position that the schedule for the remote position would be from 2:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. The claimant requested the change back to his old position, but it wasn't available. The claimant attempted to work the new schedule, but was unable to do so because of childcare issues. Though the claimant volunteered for the new position, the claimant should have been notified or been informed of this significant change. Since the claimant was not informed of the change prior to volunteering for the new position and was not allowed to change back once he was notified, the claimant had good cause connected with the work for quitting due to the change in the hiring agreement. Reverse the AT, no voluntary leaving, chargeback.
We should affirm the AT decision. After voluntary taking a work from home position, the claimant determined that the schedule was not a good fit due to his personal and childcare needs. The claimant requested a reduced work schedule, told the employer that he could no longer continue to work his current shift, and simply stopped working. Documentary evidence shows that the employer reached out to the claimant via emails and phone about his unapproved leave and instructed him to return to work. The claimant neither returned to work nor responded to the employer's contact attempts. Thus, because the claimant voluntarily left work due to personal reasons, He quit without work-connected good cause. Affirm the AT decision, voluntary leaving, no chargeback.
Voluntary leaving, no chargeback.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
I have your short form dissent. That was the last case pulled for additional discussion on docket 44. You should have received the short form dissent list for docket 44.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining UI cases on docket 44.
I second the motion, except for those cases which I am dissenting, as reflected on UI short form dissent list for docket 44.
I concur with the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I am dissenting as reflected in UI short form dissent list for docket 44.
Motion passes with the exceptions known.
I'll move to docket 45.
Case number 3582394, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant was approved for PUA benefits in April of 2020 and had stopped filing payment requests in April of 2021. The claimant then received determinations holding her ineligible for PUA benefits and resulting in a substantial overpayment in May of 2022. Over a year and a half after she had stopped filing claims. Although the claimant received the determination in May of 2022, she was also going through a major surgery at the time and unable to file a timely appeal. And she also thought that she had already submitted the proof of employment required to verify her PUA claim. The commission's delay in issuing the determination until the claimant had been out of claim status for over a year constitutes commission misinformation, and the claimant's appeal should be deemed timely so that the merits of the case can be considered. Reverse the AT, timely claimant appeal, resubmit.
The AT decision is supportable with one modification. After collecting PUA continuation benefits during 2021, the claimant was found to have been ineligible for such benefits. Initial determinations holding the claimant ineligible for PUA beginning December 27th of 2020, liable for an overpayment and ineligible for a waiver of the overpayment were issued to her in May of 2022. In her testimony at the appeal hearing, she acknowledged having received those determinations. Her appeal from all three determinations was almost a year late. Due to the late appeal, TWC has no jurisdiction to rule on the merits of the PUA, overpayment, and waiver denial issues. The AT decision did not address the lateness of the appeal from the overpayment determination. Accordingly, we should modify the AT decision. The claimant filed a late appeal from all three determinations, and the late appeals must be dismissed.
Timely appeal, resubmit.
Short form dissent.
We will resubmit the case.
Oh, wait.
Case number 3589276, Commissioner Sparsa.
The AT decision on good cause should be reversed. The employer did not come into possession of the hearing notice until after the hearing had been concluded. Excuse me. Unfortunately, another party who shared the same mailing address as the employer collected the hearing notice by accident. Since the employer cannot control the actions of another party, its non-appearance was a result of a circumstance beyond the power of control. We should therefore reverse the AT decision. The employer had good cause for its non-appearance. Resubmit.
The decision is correct. The hearing notice for the AT hearing was mailed to the employer's address of record. The employer contends that he didn't get the notice prior to the hearing because the owner chose to share a mailing address with his brother's unrelated business, and that the brother mistakenly grabbed the hearing notice and did not give it back to the employer until after the hearing date. Choosing to share a mailing address with an unrelated business and allowing that business to gather the employer's mail are matters entirely within the employer's control. Therefore, the employer did not miss the hearing for reasons beyond its own control. Regarding the timeliness issue, the initial determination was mailed to the employer's address of record on 2/16 of 23, but the employer did not file an appeal until 5/11 of 23, which is well beyond the 14-day deadline. Affirm the AT, employer did not establish good cause for AT1, late employer appeal, late employer protest.
Employer established good cause for AT1, resubmit.
We will resubmit the case.
Case number 3609428, Commissioner Sparsa.
We should modify the AT decision. First, I don't contest the timeliness of the claimant's appeal. Concerning the job separation as part of continued employment, the claimant was required to pass the necessary certification exam for the job. Claimant failed to pass the exam, which led to his job separation. Since the claimant accepted the job under the understanding that continued employment depending on taking and passing the certification exam, the claimant's failure to pass the test constituted work-connected misconduct. As such, we should modify the AT decision, timely claimant appeal misconduct.
The decision is not supportable. The claimant credibly testified that his appeal was late because he did not receive the determination in the mail until 2 days after the appeal deadline, and that then immediately went to his local Workforce Solutions office to fax his appeal. Therefore, the claimant's appeal should be deemed timely due to the late receipt of the determination. Regarding the job separation, the claimant was discharged after about 2 weeks on the job because he could not pass the required certification test. The claimant was given no meaningful opportunity to prepare for the test and was denied any study materials or assistance from the employer, and was only allowed to take the test once without any opportunity to retest. Therefore, his failure to pass the certification test did not rise to the level of misconduct connected with the work. Reverse the AT, timely claimant appeal, no misconduct.
Timely appeal, misconduct.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
I have your short form dissent.
Case number 3638952, Commissioner Trevino.
The decision is not supportable. The claimant had a medical condition which affected his eyes. After working for the company for 18 years, the employer changed the requirements of work orders from paper tickets to a new system requiring the claimant to use an iPad tablet. The claimant attempted to use the tablet but experienced headaches and eye pain while using the tablet. The claimant consulted with the supervisor about an accommodation that would not require him to use the tablet, but the employer could not make the requested accommodations. Therefore, the claimant had good cause connected with the work for quitting, since the employer failed to offer him accommodations so that he could perform his task without experiencing headaches. Reverse the AT, no voluntary leaving, chargeback. In the alternative, since the claimant's separation was directly related to health issues with his vision, I could agree in finding that the separation was the result of a medically verified illness. Modify the AT, no voluntary leaving, no chargeback, MVI.
We should affirm the AT decision. Claimant quit due to dissatisfaction with working conditions. Although claimant was offered accommodations in which included different job roles and larger text to accommodate his vision needs, claimant declined to accept the offered accommodations and quit. Moreover, although the employer suggested that the claimant consult with his physician to explore further reasonable accommodations, the claimant did not consult with a physician nor provide medical documentation for his illness. Since claimant quit when continued work was available, this separation was voluntary and without work-connected good cause. As such, we should affirm the AT decision, voluntary leaving, no chargeback.
Voluntary leaving, no chargeback.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
I have your short form dissent.
Case number 3642444, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant had good cause reason for quitting her job after the employer changed her original work schedule. The employer substantially altered the claimant's employment agreement by changing her schedule and requiring her to come to work 1 hour later than her previous start time. This change resulted in the claimant being finished with her shift at 3:30 p.m. instead of 2:30 p.m., which was her previous end time. The claimant was unable to work the new schedule because she had to pick up her children from school before 3:30 p.m. Since the employer was aware that the claimant could not work until 3:30 p.m., the claimant had good cause connected with the work for quitting due to the change in the hiring agreement. Reverse the AT, no voluntary leaving, chargeback, void AR.
The AT decision should be modified. The claimant resigned due to a change in their schedule. However, the scheduling change was not substantial and the claimant did not provide any written agreement that guaranteed her any specific schedule. Moreover, the employer stated that open validity was required for the positions. Open availability, was required for the positions. Accordingly, the claimant did not establish she had good cause connected with the work for quitting. We should therefore modify the AT decision, voluntary leaving, no chargeback, sever adequate employer response.
Voluntary leaving, no chargeback, sever adequate response.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
I have your short form dissent.
Case number 3663452, Commissioner Trevino.
The decision should be reversed. While the claimant once worked in the office and became a remote employee during the pandemic, the employer then made the change in the claimant's remote work status permanent. Several years later, after changes in the business structure required a transition of the claimant to a new position, the employer informed the claimant that she would be required to work full-time in the office. The employer gave the claimant only a few days to make the transition, which was insufficient time for the claimant to obtain childcare. Since the claimant's original hire agreement had been changed to make her move to remote work permanent, since the claimant had worked as a full-time remote employee for several years, and since the claimant was given insufficient time to meet the new requirements, the claimant had good cause connected with the work to quit. Reverse the AT, no voluntary leaving, chargeback.
We should affirm the AT decision because leaving work due to child care issues is not considered good cause connected with work for quitting. We should affirm the AT decision, voluntary leaving, no chargeback.
Rehear for additional evidence as to whether the claimant was offered time to secure childcare.
Ma'am, I'll agree with the chair.
All right, then we will rehear the case. Thank you.
Case number 3664515, Commissioner Sparsa.
The AT decision should be reversed. The claimant worked as a substitute teacher for the employer school district. Although the employer continually offered work through the end of the school year, the claimant stopped accepting opportunities for further work in April and failed to return the employer's letter of reasonable assurance. Thus, the claimant initiated the job separation while work was still available. Because the claimant's refusal to accept work assignments constituted a voluntary resignation without work-connected good cause, we should reverse the AT decision, reimbursing employer not billed.
The decision is supportable. The evidence presented established that prior to filing her initial claim, the claimant did not experience any disqualifying separation from the named employer. The claimant was a part-time substitute teacher who remained on the employer's substitute teacher availability list through the end of 2022-2023 school year. She then she returned to working for the employer in the fall of 2023. Therefore, since the claimant did not experience any disqualifying separation from this employer prior to filing the initial claim, it was proper to hold the employer's reimbursing account liable for benefits paid to the claimant based on the wages reported for the claimant during the base period. Affirm the AT, reimbursing employer billed.
Reimbursing employer not billed.
Short form dissent now.
I have your short form dissent.
Case number 3704561, Commissioner Sparsa.
The AT decision should be reversed on good cause. The employer did not participate in the hearing because a large and unexpected influx of customers appeared at the place of business at the time of the hearing. While many employers could reasonably expect customers at the workplace, the employer in this case provided testimony that indicates this particular rush of customers fell outside the scope of ordinary work. We should therefore reverse the AT decision. The employer had good cause for its non-appearance. Resubmit.
The AT decision should be affirmed. The employer failed to appear at the prior hearing because the employer was involved with normal business operations at the time of the hearing. This was a foreseeable situation that was completely within the employer's control. Since the employer failed to establish that it was prevented from participating in the hearing by circumstances beyond its control, the employer did not have good cause for its failure to appear at the AT1. Regarding the underlying issues, the available record established that the employer allegedly filed the early response to the NMPC that was not received by the commission, that the employer had no corroborating evidence of the earlier filing. Affirm the AT, employer did not establish good cause for AT1. Late employer response to the notice of maximum potential chargeback. Employer's account remained charged.
Employer established good cause for AT1, resubmit.
Resubmit the case.
Case number 3789091, Commissioner Sparsa.
We should affirm the AT decision. The employer notified a claimant of a disciplinary meeting to address some of the claimant's performance issues. Rather than attend the meeting, the claimant quit effectively immediately. Although she assumed her termination was imminent, the claimant had the opportunity to refute any allegations against her and testified that the discharge was one potential consequence of the meeting. This is corroborated by the documentary evidence. Ultimately, the claimant testified that because she did not want to risk having a termination on a record, she chose to resign. After the separation, the claimant has alleged other reasons for quitting. However, the record is clear that she quit in response to a potential reprimand. As such, her quitting was without work-connected good cause. From the AT decision, voluntary leaving, reimbursing employer not billed.
The decision is not supportable. After being notified that she would be subjected to a disciplinary meeting for unspecified matters, the claimant chose to resign from her job due to the continuing hostile work environment and unsafe working conditions she experienced. The claimant had repeatedly reached out to Human Resources about these issues, but the employer failed to sufficiently address or resolve her concerns about the working environment. Additionally, the claimant was advised by her doctor that it would be in her best interest to quit for her own health and safety. Therefore, the claimant established that she had good cause connected with the work to resign. Reverse the AT, no voluntary leaving, bill reimbursing employer.
Voluntary leaving, reimbursing employer not billed.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
I have your short form dissent. That was the last case pulled on docket 45. You should have received the short form dissent list for docket 45.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining UI cases on docket 45.
I second the motion except for those cases which I am dissenting, as reflected on UI short form dissent list for docket 45.
I concur with the chairman's motion except for the cases on which I'm dissenting as reflected in UI short form dissent lists for docket 45.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted.
Chairman.
Commissioner Sparsa.
Thank you.
Chairman, with your permission, I'd like to resubmit or relook at tax case 240360724 and request that I have an amended vote to submit. A vote to have this case resubmitted with a memo from OGC as to whether a good cause exception to the 120-day deadline can exist under Texas and federal law based on an agency mistake. The memo should review any available information on how Department of Labor has treated exceptions in other states in something like this. So that's, Chairman, if you'd agree to this, we would ask that we get this case resubmitted with OGC.
I would agree with that with one proviso, which would be that the General Counsel also look at the fact pattern that would suggest that the entity did make the payment in good faith prior to the deadline. There were technological issues that caused that payment to not be completed. It is my opinion that they met both the spirit and the letter of the law in making the payment. They simply just need to complete the payment. We took way too long to alert them to this fact. This mistake lies significantly with TWC. I think the employer also made mistakes, but I would like the General Counsel to also explore that fact pattern, that payment was made, that payment was simply not completed, and the law seems to be very vague on this point. If with that proviso, I would agree with your request.
We would support that. Thank you, Chairman.
I do have your 2 votes to resubmit the case after a memo from Office General Counsel. So we will resubmit it. And at that time, any votes or dissents can be recorded at a future doc meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioner, thank you.
All right, anything else? This brings us to the end of agenda items 1 through 8. We'll take a short recess. Why not? The cameras don't do it now. No, they're walkers. I like those. That's why I'm sure. But I've got some guys that talk about 31 degrees. Shorts, got it. No, I have, figures. All right, here we go. This is agenda item 9, modifications to the board contract year 2025 childcare performance targets.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Reagan Miller with the Child Care and Early Learning Division. Adam Leonard from I3 is also joining me. This morning, we're bringing forward updates to the BCY 25 average number of children served per day targets. These updates are based upon a re-review of the assumptions that we used to estimate the cost of operating the program as it relates to the board's admin ops costs. And Adam's going to provide a little bit of background on this.
Yeah, so I believe you may know that we've been working on kind of modernizing our approach to setting targets and training more staff in the division to be able to lead that and drive it. And so within the process, we were able to more or less successfully get through 24 out of 25, but we discovered a mistake with this one, which had to do with kind of a late shift in focus from a two-piece admin ops model to a more simplified model based on feedback we had gotten from the boards. And when we did so, the model we created, we just didn't kind of get the smell test right on it, if you know what I mean, comparing it back to the baselines. There were a few too many deltas. And so we're bringing you a replacement version of that corrects this issue. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, comments or questions?
None here.
No questions.
I have a couple of comments. So I do understand that when we brought these a couple months ago, we missed a couple of things and you wanted to relook at it and staff feels confident that this is the right set of targets. I think probably most importantly, the number of kids served is going to stay pretty much the same. I think that's very important. The silver lining of this episode is that it did give us an additional opportunity to review all the things that go into the targets and then talk through them with staff in some great amount of detail. And what I've realized coming out of this is that we need to do a better job of understanding what boards are spending their childcare admin and ops dollars on, and what we as the state entity need to be doing to do a better job of pushing those boards to be much more efficient with those tax dollars. You know, communities across Texas, they're very diverse. Obviously there's going to be some variation in expenses just depending on particular circumstances. But I'm looking at the chart and I'm seeing similarly situated communities with expense ratios that range from 6.5 to 12.8 to 20.2%. And that to me is too much variation in what we're spending. I'm actually in favor of what you've proposed today, and I'm going to be voting yes on that. But I want to ask for 3 things moving forward. First, a report on what boards are spending their admin ops dollars on that will let us compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges. 2, For next contract year, some cap on admin and ops if necessary, with a provision to go over if they can present sufficient extenuating circumstances. And three, also for next contract year, an incentive for boards that can come in under the cap and can demonstrate how they did that. So those three things, I think for next year, we really need to take a hard look at. Any additional comments or questions here today?
No, none here.
I fully support it. Thank you, Chairman.
Is there a motion on what staff has presented today?
Chairman, I move that we approve the modifications to the board contract year 2025 child care services average children per day performance targets as described in the discussion paper and recommended today by staff.
A second.
Vote unanimous, motion carries. This is agenda item 10, acceptance of additional donation for the Borderplex Child Care Investments Partnership Project.
Again, Reagan Miller with the Child Care and Early Learning Division. You previously approved a child care investment partnership matching grant for Borderplex based on local match contributions, which are intended to help address the need for high-quality child care in the Alpine area. Borderplex has secured an additional donor, the Big Bend Medical Center, who will donate $25,000, which will be matched with $25,000 in CCDF funds. Staff recommends that you accept the $25,000 donation from Big Bend Medical Center as required by CCDF rules in support of the Borderplex CCIP project.
Comments or questions?
None here.
Hey, Reagan, just to clarify, what's it's 5 million is the pot of money that we have?
We have a total pot of $5 million. We have not come close to distributing towards that 5 million.
Okay. Would you mind just kind of giving me the number of what's left? I'm in support of this all the way. I just want to know kind of what that burn rate.
You bet. We'll give you a summary of all the projects that have been previously approved.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move that we approve the acceptance of a donation for the Borderplex Child Care Investment Partnership Project in the amount of $25,000 from the Big Bend Medical Center as described in the discussion paper and recommended today by staff.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is agenda item 11, Adult Education and Literacy Outcomes Report to the Texas Legislature for fiscal year 2024.
Good morning, Chairman Daniel, Commissioner Trevino, Commissioner Esparza, and Mr. Cerna. For the record, Mahalia Baldini, Workforce Development Division. I have for your consideration this morning the Adult Education and Literacy Outcomes Report for state fiscal year 2024. Texas Labor Code 315.002 requires that the Texas Workforce Commission report educational and employment outcomes for the Adult Education Literacy Program by December 1st of every even-numbered year to the Texas Legislature. Rider 44 of the General Appropriations Act passed by the 88th Texas Legislature regular session further requires that the report identify the types of literacy programs conducted by providers and the measurable outcomes on literacy performed by those states' programs. The report in your notebook fulfills both of these legislative requirements. Staff are seeking some latitude in making non-substantive changes to the document as we prepare it for submission to the Texas Legislature. That concludes my remarks, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about the report.
Comments or questions?
Well, I'd like to thank Mahalia and the AAL staff for this comprehensive report on the program outcomes for fiscal year 2024. The data clearly demonstrates the program's positive impact on adult learners in Texas, and the continued success in meeting the performance measures is commendable.
Thank you.
No questions. Thanks, Mahalia.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move that we approve the fiscal year 2024 Adult Education and Literacy Outcome Report for submission to the Texas Legislature as recommended today by staff.
A second.
Been moved, seconded, motion carries. So agenda item 12, acceptance of pledges for board contract years 2024 and 2025 child care matching funds.
Morning, Commissioners. Mr. Cerna, for the record, Stephen Sager, Workforce Development Division. In accordance with federal regulations and TWC Chapter 809, Child Care Services Rule, TWC encourages the boards to secure and submit local matching funds to TWC in order to receive a portion of the CCDF funding. Supporting documentation includes 20 BCY 25 match agreements from 5 boards: Central Texas, Lower Rio, North Texas, Panhandle, and Texoma, totaling $3,068,469. Boards have secured 7.42% of the statewide child care local match target for BCY 25, with four boards securing at least 50% of their target. Staff is recommending that TWC accept child care pledges for expenses for BCY 25 in the amount of $3,068,469. Happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or questions?
Thank you, Stephen, for that presentation.
No questions.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move that we approve the acceptance of the child care pledges for donations, transfers, and certifications of the expense for board contract year 2025 in the amount of $3,068,469 as recommended today by staff.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, and the motion carries. This is agenda item 13, board nominations.
Morning, Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Cerna. For the record, my name is Dawn Cronin. For you today, I have, for your consideration, I have the Workforce Board nominations for local workforce development areas in Concho Valley, North Central Texas, Golden Crescent, Greater Dallas, Middle Rio Grande, North Texas, West Central, and Panhandle. Staff recommends approval on the presented nominees, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Any comments or questions?
None here.
No questions, sir.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move we approve the local workforce development board member nominees presented today for the following: Workforce Solutions, Concho Valley, North Central Texas, Golden Crescent, Greater Dallas, Middle Rio Grande, North Texas, West Central Texas, and Panhandle.
A second.
To move a second, motion carries.
Thank you.
All right. Lowell, do you have a legislative report today? Not today. Okay. Is there an executive director's report?
Very briefly, yes, sir. First, I wanted to make sure the commission was aware, and I think you all are because you all are participating as well, that our boards are hosting the annual Hiring Red, White, and You Veterans Job Fair events. In addition to commissioners, executive staff are also going out to attend various job fairs. I'll be in Texarkana day after tomorrow doing that. Also, I want to congratulate Commissioner Esparza on his first anniversary of his becoming a commissioner with us and his appointment. So my congratulations, Commissioner. With that, that's all I have to report.
It hasn't aged him as much as has some of the rest of us. So. I don't think.
Yeah. God in the Senate willing, I'll be back for another year.
I hope that's true. Is there any other order of business come before the commission?
No, congratulations.
Thanks, sir.
1 year. I mean, it seems like there should be some sort of.
There's donuts. Come get them.
Mr. Truman, what's the polite word for hazing that we're supposed to use now? Yes. Moving on.
Cajoling.
Cajoling. No, congratulations. This is a fun job. This is a fun job if you let it be. And you actually seriously seem to be having fun. And I'm glad for that. I've enjoyed this very much. So.
Get taking jobs.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Chairman, I move to adjourn.
I second.
It's been moved second to adjourn, and we're adjourned.